Well, hi, all you backyard train fans that are into model railroading. I'm going to vary a little bit. I've been doing a lot with G scale and gauge one and those type size trains, but I also have an interest in the 1/8 scale ride-on trains, and recently acquired a couple of items that are to me very unusual. I've never seen these before, and I wanted to share them. Maybe some of you that are viewing this video may know more about them and could give me a little background history. I always like to know where things came from. I think some of these items maybe were in one of the live steam magazines or magazines in the past, which are becoming very rare, on how to build things, how to make different things. Or maybe they were built at a club, or maybe commercially made. Somebody was making them at their house in the garage and selling them. But and I'm going to be stopping and starting the video because I'm just doing this handheld with a phone and I don't have a tripod or any of that stuff. Again, this is just one of my unscripted, off the cuff narrations and my thoughts and observations. And if you have any thoughts, just put them in the comments section. That'd be a big help. But first up is this. I guess you'd have, well, like track maintenance cars. And maybe they had a little speeder or something to go with it. I just have this soda can here so you can get an idea of the height of this. And they're very small, all very small, and they're set up for 7.5 inch gauge. This measures from the little handles here. We're at 28 inches. And they are, from the bottom there, 12 inches. But really cool with this thing, and then here's like a side shot. They have like a handrail they've put in here. And you got like your typical speeder track car, the handles you would lift up. This is for hooking up a drawbar. And then on the back side, spin this around, they have handrails there, and little step here, step up, and handrails. And this has a lid, and of course here's this side, similar to the other one. And there's a hasp here, and then some storage area for inside. And in there was these two drawbars, obviously the other two items, and it's just like a little clevis on the end, and then a pin, and of course that would just hook up there, and then the other end on the other car, and then this car here. So really cool find. I don't know if you push it around the track and keep your tools in there. Or again, was there some sort of a little, you could pull it with a locomotive, or was there a little track car or speeder of some sort? This one here is the smallest, and it is about 19 inches long. It's kind of set up the same way. Let's flip this over. Interesting wheels. They all have the same kind of wheels. It's like a pressed, some sort of a pressed wheel. On there, and then that's how it's just goes through here. And I don't know if this can be re-gauged, probably. It's just like a, let's look in there, it's kind of like a nut in here, spacer of some sort, but they're just put on with a nut and like a threaded rod. I don't know if the thread goes through, if this is hollow or if this is solid. Don't really know. Have to investigate. And then the drawbar, the flat bar, goes all the way through. Other than that, the rest of it's wood, other than the wheels and the axles. So that's pretty cool. This one's a little longer, and the sides are hinged to open up. Can't get back far enough. And what they have is they just have these little hooks to hook the side, and this side's the same way. Spin this around. Same on both sides. They just have it hinged. And again, the bottom is made the same way. The drawbar goes all the way through, metal, and then just the wheels. So, and this one is, looks like about 26 inches long, and they're all 12 inches wide. So that's the first of the oddities. Unusual. I really like these. It'd be great to have a little track car or speeder or something to pull them around. All right, so let's go on to the next item. All right, next up are two dump cars that came out of this collection. I'll try to get back here a little bit. One is pretty bad off. The other isn't too bad. Again, set up for 7.5 inch gauge track. I'll flip it on its side in a minute. Again, the soda can, so you can get an idea of the, well, it's not a good representation. There's a soda can, pretty tall. It is about 32 inches long. They are 15 inches wide and come in at around 19.5 or so high. And it's interesting, they're labeled P and BC. If you look that up, that's was a local railroad in my area, Northeast United States. It was the Pennsylvania and Baltimore Central, which started a line back in the late 1800s in Pennsylvania from Oxford, Pennsylvania to Rising Sun, Maryland. And then later the Pennsylvania Railroad took that over, and known as the Octorara branch. And now it is a short line, still survives today. There's a connection between on the Reading, Wilmington and Northern. So it's kind of interesting, these cars. Here's a end shot. And it looks like these sides open up each side. There's a chain here. I take it you undo the chain, and then to tilt it, this keeps it from tilting. Again, they have the little latches to hold it. Now it looks like on both of these, somebody's put a block of wood in here to probably keep them from tilting, because they probably are tilting all the time. So they've attached that permanently, nailed it in. Again, this is all wood frame. There is a metal bar. Well, you can't see it here, but it goes through, comes out the other end. Here they've put a angle iron in here, but kind of the same construction, same type of almost like lath material that it's made out of. Let's see what else. Okay, there's two of them. Now this one is really rotted bad. But what it appears, if you look down in here with my finger, you have this triangle piece of wood, and then there's like, this is a pivot point so that it could rock, this way or that way, depending on how you wanted to dump the car. Again, I'm guessing this was something that either somebody made and put in Lifesteam magazine or some early publication in the 60s or 70s on how to build these things, and somebody made some of them, or maybe somebody was making them and selling them. Again, here's the metal bar goes through. You can get a good shot here of that pivot point piece of wood. Yeah, pretty deteriorated. But again, if anybody has any information, drawings, there's some start steps, and then here's the trucks. It comes down. It's just like setup. What would be a four-wheel bobber, or a ore car type setup. And then they have the grease fittings on the journals. So I'm going to pause this, and I'm going to flip this one on its side, the better one. The other one's just crumbling apart. I'll flip it on its side, and then you can take a look at the bottom. All right, so now I've flipped it on its side, and we can look at the bottom. And you can see how that's put together. Again, here's the center sill or the drawbar going all the way through. The pivots here and here for the tilt mechanism. Here's the wheels. This is like a cast wheel, not like the other ones where it was like a kind of a pressed formed wheel. The metal strap comes down, goes across, comes back up. And again, these blocks of wood, I believe that they've put them in just to keep these things from tilting, easier to move around, but they're nailed in. I mean, here's one of the nails right here. They got this thing really secure because it must have been getting on their nerves and trying to move it. So again, if anybody has any history, knows who made these, or have drawings or anything about it, I'd be interested. I'd like to maybe some point to try to restore this one, or get them both looking pretty good. But that would be an interesting project at some point. I could always use the help if anybody local to Delaware would be interested in working on a project like this. So again, need a track car to go with it. All right, I'm going to pause the video and we'll move on to the next item. Okay, up next is a wooden truss rod gone. Again with the P and BC, Philadelphia and Baltimore Central markings. And it's pretty good shape. Coupler's kind of hanging. I did post earlier today, those on Facebook that are following me, I did ask what the name of these couplers were, and it's Miller couplers. It's interesting that it appears that most people seem to have some kicking around. I'm not looking for any more. People asking if I wanted some. I have some that came with this and some previous ones I acquired, and probably will get rid of them. I don't use them. So, and I have some in the brass and some in the cast setup. But interesting trucks. Just one big spring. And again, they got the grease fittings on the journals. Don't know if this is Miller trucks. Somebody graciously sent me copies of the catalog with different products that were sold by Miller Backyard Trains. Okay, I'm going to pause this and then flip it on its side so you can see the bottom. Okay, I flipped it on its side, but because the trucks are so heavy, it wants to upright itself. So I put a block of wood underneath the one truck to hold it on its side. Again, this is an all wood car underframe where the couplers are attached. They just bolted it right through the wood floor. There is a piece of metal right here where the truck frames are for the bolsters. Just a big piece of metal down in there. So, and again, just a one big spring on each end. And then here's the inside. There's the spring on the one side, and you have this bar coming up on the bottom here. And again, just 3 ribs, or well, two larger ribs, I'll call it, going down the length of the car, and then you got the side sill here, the sides of the car. So that's it for the wooden gone. I hope that's of interest. All right, and then we'll go on to the next item. Next item is a P and BC caboose. It's the Philadelphia and Baltimore Central. Again, this would be, the railroad existed back in the late 1800s. Started in Oxford to run to Rising Sun, Maryland, Oxford, Pennsylvania. And this is all wood. Again, we have the Miller couplers on there. And it's just a 4-wheel bobber caboose. Cast pedestals, and solid wheels. It's like, obviously it's probably wood underneath here. It looks like tar paper or something put on there to protect the roof. Got the smokestack for the stove. Okay, now the roof lifts off, so I'm going to pause this and take the roof off. Okay, here we are with the roof off. So we'll look inside, and they do have some of an interior in here. Got the seat on each side, looking straight down. We got plastic in the windows. Got the elevated seats that would look out of the cupola. Of course, there originally would have been storage underneath here in a bathroom. And then in the back we have another bench. Normally you'd have the conductor's desk and table for paperwork. And then over here there's nothing here, and that's where the stove would go. That lines up with the smokestack. So you can always put a model of a potbelly stove or something in there. And they painted it gray in there. And then it's interesting on the bottom of this roof, let me get this and flip it up, they've painted it green, like you might see in a caboose, and the gray walls up in the cupola. Of course, the red here is where the overhang of the roof over the platform. So pretty cool, pretty cool. All right, I'm going to pause again and flip this on its side so you could take a look at the underneath. Okay, now we're taking a look at the underneath. Again, just a four-wheel bobber type caboose. I don't know if this is cast aluminum or metal. Haven't tried it with a magnet to see. Journals do not open. Solid wheels on the axle. No center beam or anything. They've just put a piece of wood here. This is all wood constructed, and then of course the Miller couplers on the end. These appear to be, I guess maybe they're aluminum. Yeah, they're aluminum steps. And looks like maybe, I don't know if it's brass. Yep, brass handrails. So that's the underneath. Okay. And then we'll go on to the next item. All right, next up is a basic wooden boxcar, no doors. Looks like it's made out of plywood. Again, has the Miller couplers. Interesting, these trucks are the solid, no springs. They're fake springs. So it says Lehigh Railroad on it. So that's kind of interesting. And Morris couplers. And here's the back end, just really plain plywood boxcar. 7.5 inch gauge on the wheels. I'll flip it on its side so we can look at the bottom. Okay, I flipped it on its side. Again, there's no center sill or any metal. It's all wood constructed. You can see up inside here, it's all wood. But it's interesting, the trucks, Lehigh Railroad models. And the thing that's I found interesting is that the wheels rotate independent. They're not, it's like the axle, I guess, goes through. The axle does not move. Oh, I guess I can move it. But each wheel is its own bearing, I guess, in there. I don't know what's in there. I'm going to have to take a look. And then it's just bolted right here. And that's what pivots it. And of course, it's each side pivots on its own. So it gives you the suspension. And then right here, it bolts on there, and that's where it swivels. So interesting wheels, interesting trucks. They probably would do really good in curves, less wear. All right, so that's it for the box car. Okay, now we're down to the last two cars, and the whole reason I bought this collection is because I wanted these Auburn Valley railroad coaches from the 60s. These were run at the Marshall Steam Museum, built by Clarence and Tom Marshall, and run, used to be called the Magic Age of Steam, now the Marshall Steam Museum, but it was always, the railroad was always called the Auburn Valley Railroad. And so I wanted to make sure that these stayed here in Delaware local. There is a third one that was discovered, and that was purchased at auction and is at the Marshall Steam Museum on display. I don't know how many cars were originally built, but until just recently, none have been seen other than in photographs. So I'm really excited that these three cars have been saved. They're out of the same collection, and I'm glad that one of them is at the Marshall Steam Museum. They appear that they're not interested in any more of them. The one on display is enough for them. So I was able to get two cars that I'll be keeping and hopefully maybe operate at some point. Very fancy. They're very dirty, need to be cleaned up. Now the frame has been removed out of this one, and the other one, the frame is still in, and I'll include a video of the frame, which is a very, very heavy cast aluminum frame. I don't know if that was something that Little Engines made, and then these cars with the seats were built up off of the frame, and they fit on there, and they had the Miller couplers on them. And there's one sitting on the floor behind this still has the Miller couplers. So I'm going to stop the video and take this off the table and put the other one on the table so you can see that one also. Okay, here's the last of the cars. It's Auburn Valley Railroad number 101. So we have 101 and 102. This has the cast aluminum frame still underneath it. So, and I'm going to show you what the frame looks like removed. I have one from the other car sitting on the pallet outside. So that's where the coupler would go, of course, you know, right there. And on the other end, the coupler is still in. Basically the same design, kind of up against the door here. And then it has, they had eyelets for chains. Right, and I just had a hole drilled there and come down with the bolt for the coupler. And then they didn't come with any trucks, but they do run 7.5 at the Auburn Valley, 7.5 inch gauge on the track and the trucks. So let's go out and we'll take a look at the frame. Okay, here's the frame on the pallet. The thing in the back there is just a aluminum track for rolling things around, put things on, transfer. But this is all cast aluminum. It's really heavy duty. And of course the coupler would go in here, and then they got the eyelets for safety chains. And then here's where the trucks would bolt up, and they have these rubber bumpers here for your side bearing. And then it's a metal, this is rubber. No, is that rubber? I don't think it is rubber. It looks like rubber, but I think it's aluminum. And there's a piece of metal here. If it is rubber, it's very hard, and then that bolts up. So you could adjust your side bearing clearance depending on what trucks you're using. And then when we look at the side here, of course it comes along, and then it you know, drops down, tapers down thicker here, just like a flat car or under frame of any car. But it's interesting, the thickness, this double center beam, if you want to call it that, center sill, this here is much thicker than this here. So, and then it's thick here, and then this side is thin. As you can see from here, it's thinner. So very interesting. Again, I don't know who made these frames. If that was a Little Engines product or somebody else was making it, it would have been the same time period, because the Marshall Steam Museum had the first little engine Northerns 484s that Clarence had bought, Clarence Marshall, and then they machined them, assembled them, and they're still running today. So after all these years, I think they started that in the 50s. So that's it. That's all the new items into the collection for the ride-on trains here. There really hasn't been many videos I've done of any of the other cars or things. There is the Tom B electric steam engine. There's a couple videos I have up of that. We had that out a few years ago. 7 1/4. I'm running 7 1/4 here. And I'll try to maybe get some other videos or pictures of some things, but really not the priority at the moment. I just needed to build some shelves and get these off the floor, so I figured while I'm doing it, let me shoot a video. So I hope you enjoyed all this, learned something new. Again, if you know anything about any of the manufacturers, even like this frame here, the gondola, the dump cars, little work cars, if you have any plans or know where the plans are or know who maybe made them, be interested to find out. Maybe other viewers would be interested also. So thanks for taking a look, and I hope to see you trackside.